feel like that's so abrupt. Oh, I can't get close.
It's abrupt. Don't get close. You'll get cut off. It'll clip and pop.
Yeah, so I'm gonna use it correctly. So here we are. It is every other Thursday. We're back on track, and we're right here with Ask Stacey Stuff. Hello, everybody.
Ask Stacey Stuff.
Everybody wave. No. I said Stacey needed to be big.
I know, boss. I'm trying to make that shit happen.
Yay! Look at that. Yay! There's Stacey. Hi, Stacey. How are you doing today?
I am doing great.
Yeah.
Good. Shift it around here.
Do you need to let everybody in on what's happening with the planets? Because we were having this discussion before, and maybe everybody needs to have a little insight as to what is actually going on.
Well, I mean, we talked about it, last time just a little bit because, it was associated with the coupon that I was running. But Pluto has, as far into January 20th, it entered into the house of Aquarius, and it hasn't been in this position since 1776 because it rotates around the sun. Its one orbit is 248 years, and we're in that place again. Now, Pluto is the Roman god of the underworld. It's what Hades is for the Greeks, and hell for the Nordics, but Pluto is the realm of the dead, being underground, underworld, very heavily spiritual motivations. That's where the revolutionary stuff actually comes about, because the dead are actually guiding people in mass to right the wrongs that society has wrought, essentially.
So, oh my God, he's playing tonight.
It explains a lot.
So does this mean, Stacey, do you feel like this means the spiritual war that has sort of, it's felt like that's what we're in? Do you think this helps move that spiritual war along here?
Yeah, and the founding fathers were very superstitious on astrology themselves. Washington, D.C. is one big astrochart. Items of significance, memorial size, all around Washington, D.C. are placed in positions of geometric sacred sacred geometries, basically. If you look at the streets of Washington, D.C., you have the DuPont Circle, but then you have all of the streets go in really weird directions. They're right angles here, they're diagonally over this way, but they're consistent. They're in parity with each other, that if you were from a 30,000 foot view, you can actually see pentagrams and pyramids and all kinds of sacred geometries that are big within the Freemasons. There are no less than 22 astro charts that are in these locations, and every astro chart is a date, which is July 4th, 1776. They don't actually say the date, they're just an astro chart, what the planets were in the sky on July 4th, 1776. Back then they didn't have a Pluto, but what the sky looked like was very important to the founding fathers. It was a revolutionary time, and they knew it. They saw it in the stars. They knew that was the right time, and actually they could succeed in their revolution based off of what the astro charts were telling them. So Washington, D.C. specifically was picked by George Washington because an astro chart told him that's where it needed to be. Washington, D.C. is a swamp. If you were going to build a city back then in a swamp, people would have thought you were, batshit crazy. You don't build anything in a swamp. George Washington went to the swamp, bought the land from a guy named John Pope, who lived at the top of this hill in the swamp, and he actually called that hill the Vatican. John Pope. kind of it as a joke, tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. But that's Washington bought all of that land for Washington, D.C. And that hill is actually the hill everybody refers to in the Capitol.
I wonder what it's like to have that much knowledge in your head at all
I'm
times.
sitting here going, I'm fucking stupid. Because I didn't know any of that shit.
Well, you
wow.
get into when you grow up and become pagan, you learn everything there is to know about what is pagan and where our history coincides, what is a carryover from the old religion to today, because a lot of the traditions we have are leftovers from pagan Europe and pagan Nordic countries, things of that kind. Everything from our calendar to where we build our stuff and which direction it faces and all kinds of stuff. It's all based off of these pagan superstitions.
I was wondering, Kimberly just said she used to give tours in DC for 14-year-olds. Like, did you know all this, Kimberly? Like, was this stuff that he's saying? Did you know all this stuff? I feel like I've heard bits of this, although this would probably fall under the QAnon, right? Like, people would say, oh, you're full of shit. Oh, that's not true. But this is stuff you can, I would assume, easily look up in history.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Statue of Liberty is Lucifer. In other traditions, it's Aurora. Aurora is Lucifer, the morning star, the morning light. These are pagan traditions that in a lot of ways was more of a protest against the Catholic Church at the time. They weren't necessarily considered to be sacred in the religious sense, where everybody now is like, you do this and all of a sudden you're part of the Illuminati. It's not like that. Yeah. It was more or less a middle finger to the Vatican because they were so tyrannical in the way that they governed, and they had no real authority other than to be a proxy to whatever king or queen was ruling the land.
Mm-hmm.
And during 1776, or that period, that 40-year period, people decided they were going to throw out the governing body of the Vatican. And that's why France had a revolution right after we did. Mm-hmm. And Marie Antoinette ended up losing her head. It was the tyranny of the Catholic Church is what gave rise to a lot of this stuff, that they solidified it in our monuments. So.
All right, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Now, here's the sad thing. I don't think I could repeat it. Could you, Rob? Like, I couldn't take a test on that right now.
No, I could not.
Well, I really
George Washington cut down a cherry tree in a swamp, and the Pope moved the Vatican from where it is now to the hill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they named the area, the swamp was called Foggy Bottom because it belched so much, methane gas. It smelled literally like ass as you were going through it. So they called it Foggy Bottom.
Wow.
Okay.
All right. I know some people that I would call that too.
Well, they still do today. They have office buildings or congressional office buildings that are in the area that was Foggy Bottom, and that's what they refer to that area of Washington, D.C. as Foggy Bottom.
Cool.
Even though it's not a swamp anymore.
So Sarah's ripping through comments here.
No, I'm just giving the hellos. I just want them to be able to see their beautiful names up there, and they're saying hello. I'm not ripping through any questions here.
Okay. All right. Calm down.
You calm down.
Calm down, Foggy Bottom.
You've just given him new words here to use. But that's all it is super interesting. And I think that, it makes me wonder on some of this stuff, right? Like, this is why some of us just have these, you might feel that you don't understand where some of this interest comes from. This is just bred into us. This whole needing to do this spiritual rituals or spiritual acts and connecting. This was bred into us.
Yeah, we're hardwired for this, whether society is actually, retarded our abilities in being able to communicate with the dead. and I use that the correct way.
You did.
Because society does not want you to have an independent thought or be able to be guided by your own head.
Mhm.
They want you to be able to be, part of the sheep, part of the collective. Schools teach kids how to be good workers, not leaders. Private schools will do that,
Mhm.
select private schools,
Mhm.
but public schools are designed to create worker bees.
Mhm.
And they breed this ability that everyone has right out of you, which is your intuitive listening post, essentially.
Which, by the way, Stacey does get into some of this in his remote viewing courses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mediumship and remote viewing are two sides of the same coin, as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm.
In remote viewing, we talk about this thing called AOLs. They're analytical overlays, things that are information that comes to you based off of your own life experience will flash these life experiences or ideas that you've already had a personal relationship with. Like you went to Paris and suddenly flashes of the Eiffel Tower or the I just flaked out. The meat.
He just had an AOL. That's happening right now.
Stacey, put your pen down.
No, the art museum there.
Oh, the Louvre?
The Louvre.
Delivery.
I had it in my head, I had the little glass pyramid and everything, and I couldn't get the name out. But yeah, if you've got that experience, these things will pop into your head, and they're called analytical overlay. And when you're remote viewing, you dump those because that's bad data.
Mhm.
Your brain is trying to jump to the conclusion based off of the little bit of data that it's received, and your brain goes, "Oh, I know what that is. I know," and then just throws these images out. Those are AOLs. You dump those. They're not part of your session. You need to go deeper and start ferreting out more and more details before you get a full, complete picture. With mediumship, it's actually the opposite. And AOLs are the way that the dead like to communicate to you because they know you just as well as you know yourself, and they will start giving things to you mentally that you can relate to.
Mm.
Usually they're in sync with how you related to them. May not be in context you going to an amusement park with this person who's passed, but they will give you ideas of an amusement park, just to let you, ferret out what it is that the information that's coming to you.
So would this explain why maybe two separate people can have the same experience,
Mm-hmm.
but have a totally different perception of it?
Yes. Well, that happens in real life anyway. I mean, eyewitnesses to the same event.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, shit.
So the dead like to communicate in what we call AOLs and remote viewing, simply because it's the easiest on frequency avenue in order to get an idea across or a concept across.
Mhm.
Most people think that when you do mediums, they actually will hear voices. Some do, most do not. What they hear is the idea. It's the internal voice that you have within yourself, your own inner voice that's talking. It's not the voice of a woman or a voice of a guy. It's you inside. They're using those ideas and those concepts to get that voice to voice for them.
Mhm.
The EVPs, which is what we're used to in paranormal investigating, they're not in any way synced in that regard,
Mhm.
because your wavelength and the wavelength in which they can record that stuff, two totally different things.
We got so deep so fast here. So okay, go, Sarah.
Well, I'm curious, like I'm watching your wheels turn here a little bit. So where are you going when you hear him speak about what he's speaking about?
No, it just takes it kind of threads together a lot of our conversations that you and I have had, or also with on shows and with guests. And And it does. It kind of connects different thoughts and theories and potential understandings of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've said this all along, even before I got to know Stacey, how the remote viewing piece kind of ties to how we investigate and when we investigate and what happens and why we perceive things sometimes the way that we do. And I think a big part of that goes back to, even my story, how we started talking.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, it's a lot to take in. And once you start seeing how it's all connected, ultimately, right, this all comes down to the very same thing, which is data streams from the universe.
Yeah. Well, you're using the same muscle, essentially, that remote viewing uses in mediumship. So, the taste, the smells, all of the five senses that you have within you are also part of the overall equation. The problem that most mediums have is just like in an AOL where they jump to the conclusion, they'll get a little bit of data or a little bit of information and they'll jump on it and then conclusively say that this is what this is.
Mm-hmm.
No, never. The first impression on that is always wrong.
All right.
Being able to filter through the information, having them verify it in your own mind. If you're getting an image or getting a concept or you feel you're being communicated with, you can ask them to verify that information, prove that information. If you don't get anything after that, then it was imagination. If you start getting repetitive stuff over and over again, that is them reaffirming what it is that they said. They essentially proved it to you that this is a real thing, and then you can voice it.
I feel like that makes sense for me at Cashtown, and I won't say the name for people who are going to Cashtown. We don't want to wreck anything. But I remember I couldn't not stop saying a couple things. And I would never claim to be that type of person, but I remember I couldn't not say those things, those two specific things over and over again.
So I'm remembering something too. Whoa. What just happened with my computer?
Well, own the fact that you're a medium. You can start with that.
Well, hold on before you go there. I don't know how my power cable just literally ripped itself out. Are you there?
Yeah.
So wait, wasn't Cashtown the same as first place I ever met you in person?
Heyman, yes.
Same name. Which is interesting to me. But no, that would be 3 times for Sarah where she fixates on a particular name. And lo and behold, right after we get to these places, we find out they're real names associated with real places.
But what was interesting to me is, especially at Cashtown, I was fixated on that. And then here's what happens for me. And this is the part that I would like to be able to go on to the next step. So Rob's verifying the information. There's a group of us in this room. He's verifying the information and he's like, okay, can you give me more? The moment so it's a little bit like you're saying mediumship is not like remote viewing, but I feel like the minute I'm asked to get more information, I can't get it. It's like I'm trying too hard and now I'm making shit up. So I always just bow out.
So, but she also suffers, just before you answer, Stace, she suffers from imposter syndrome. She doesn't want to come off as anything, to be honest.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's fine. I mean, we're both on the same page on that front. One of the things you need to do is actually own the fact that you're a medium. Everyone is. There's nothing special about people who call themselves mediums to anyone else. The difference really is in the ability to listen. ability to pay attention, because it's all happening in here. You've just trained your brain to ignore things, and it dumps it before you have a chance to actually see it for what it is.
And I've seen it with her dozens and dozens of times, and back and forth sometimes too. She'll just know shit, or I'll just know something. But that's when you're not fighting it, right? Because you're not even thinking about it. And I have people's questions starred here. And Ian, we are going to get to your question hopefully soon, because your picture freaks me out every time I look at it. So let's get to Ian's question. So how would you categorize the images or presented data that push from nowhere outside of intentional viewing or listening sessions as mediums? In other words, I'm assuming he's talking about like flash images or flash knowings.
How would you mean as opposed to like an AOL? AOLs, first of all, AOLs only appear after 3 seconds of a data stream coming through. Things that come from the universe that have been queried that way are very rudimentary in how it comes down. It's very, what do you see? What do you smell? What do you taste? What do you hear? And the overall main senses of what you're targeting. If you spend too much time on any one particular sense, like what do you smell? And you go, well, I kind of smell, I don't know if it's a thing or another thing. And then boom, you've entered into AOL land, because you've spent too much time thinking about it rather than perceiving it. And that whole thing is where your runaway AOL sessions turn everything to junk. Yeah.
So, and in Stacey's remote viewing course, you get into that and how to break that, and Sarah hit on it. So with remote viewing, you're constantly just perceiving and writing data. When you hit an AOL, you put your pen down. Because that's a cue to your brain to fucking stop being creative and stop making up stories. Then you pick it back up and get back to work.
Right.
So there are probably things that you can do, outside, if you're not remote viewing, right, is to pull yourself away from that distraction.
Right. You can literally change your mind. Think about something else. Think about the tires on your car. It really doesn't matter. You can think about anything else, and it dumps whatever it is what you were doing.
Okay.
Change the channel, essentially. It's just a matter of knowing how to do it, and knowing that's the trick. People don't necessarily understand how their brain works on a lot of levels, and it gets away from them and creates these superstitions and fears and urban legends. The riding the witch is a good example of that. Sleep paralysis. People who wake up too soon from a nightmare, and their eyes are awake. They're completely aware that they were asleep and they had a nightmare, but they can't move. They're totally frozen. And that creates a level of panic, and they think that they're being choked or being pressed by a demon down their chest or a witch. That's what they call it, riding the witch. Sleep paralysis is easily fixed simply by swallowing. If you swallow and you're in that state, your body will recognize that you are, awake now, and it will drop the paralysis.
Interesting.
Right. That's good to know. Hey. All right.
Anyway, to get into Ian's question on what would you call it? AOL, it's not really called an AOL for mediums, but being able to recognize the difference between your own imagination and a spirit, because they can really sound the same when you're first starting out, is to really recognize what's going on in your head at the time. If you're in a haunted location, it doesn't matter which one, you're in the basement of a haunted location, and what you're concerned with is the darkness. You've got a little flashlight looking all around, and all of a sudden you start hearing voices. Well, it may actually be something that is captured on EVP, but it may be something that's in your own head. Something that, because like a microphone, it has a little filament in it that vibrates, that creates the sound that is recorded. The back of your ear, the bone in the back of your ear, actually has the same function. That can be vibrated like a microphone, and you can hear it as easily or as even more intensely than a microphone can. So recognize what it is in the moment that you are actually in. You know, what were you thinking about when you heard that? Were you thinking about a spirit? Were you thinking about a specific spirit? Were you honestly thinking about lunch because you're hungry and you're in an investigation? You know, what were you thinking about? If the channel changes, typically it's a spirit.
All right. Then there's that. Sorry, I had to step away. I didn't mean to be disruptive there. So I hope. What's that?
Was that your dog?
Yeah. So yeah, she barked. She's not usually a barker, but she was barking at something in the backyard lights went on. So I just wanted to make sure what was going on. So I apologize that I missed that. But was that for Ian? Did Ian's question get answered? Like
I hope I answered that. What he was talking about.
I think you did. We'll find out. Ian's not shy.
Yeah.
Let's move on to future ghosts. I believe that's Linda. I think that's what I read.
Would you call a premonition a sort of mediumship? That depends. Your premonition is just, glimpses of the future. That can be a protection guide that is telling you that or showing you that. Sort of a ghost of Christmas future kind of thing. Or it could be you actually remote viewing the future. It's the same instrument. It's the same, methodology that you would use in remote viewing as you would in, talking to spirits. It's just a matter of.
That's a fine line. That's a fine line, Stacey. A premonition and remote viewing into like this. You don't really ever truly know which way it's going.
Well, you don't know the data source. The universe has a way of answering questions that you have because it's impartial, it's unbiased. If you want to know something as simple as you're driving down the road, you want to know whether there's a speed trap down the road, you can ask just out loud. Is there a cop waiting for me at the end of this road or down this road in a speed trap? And in less than 3 seconds, you will hear yes or no. And if it's it's the universe that's actually telling you yes or no, because the universe answers in that quick of a burst.
This was kind of similar to the conversation that I got into with Wade from Nesper on the way down to Old Hospital on College Hill, where he gets premonitions of the place we were going to, right? And he was drawing cool things, the tiles and the wallpaper. And it sparked a big discussion about whether these are messages being brought to us, or are you remote viewing?
A lot of time it's remote viewing, whether you're trained in it or not. Most people don't get trained in psychic things. They are very intuitive. They're very sensitive, usually through childhood trauma of, really nasty levels. So they develop that sense as a defensive mechanism to know when shit is about ready to fall out of the sky. They learn that as a kid. But they really don't have a system in place to understand how to control it and how to turn up and turn down the volume. Remote viewing allows you to control that. That's the learned process.
Okay.
Mediumship is the same way. You learn it. You don't necessarily know how to control it. It either works or it doesn't work. You really have no, parallax on knowing what is real and what isn't. You're white knuckling it essentially.
Right.
And being able to learn it through the Book of Mediums, which is a user's manual on how to be a medium, what to look out for, what to not to do, and what to, move through that whole process. Yeah.
I remote viewed this whole damn thing.
Uh-huh.
Sarah told me to do this.
And you can watch Kardec on Netflix, guys. Stacey recommended that one. And I did. I turned it on, and it's a very interesting take on this particular professor, teacher's journey into spiritualism and why he wrote this book. It's very, very interesting, I thought.
Yeah, it is. And this book here is essentially the best-selling book in Latin America next to the Bible. Harry Potter doesn't even come close.
Yeah.
This is the book that Latin American cultures use in their spiritism. And it's very boring to read, but it's a manual.
Well, you can't read it in order. Don't read it in order.
No, read the parts that are of interest to you, but read the whole book, because there are things that will help you in investigations, using your own instrument in order to ferret out things that you not necessarily would do. Ask a particular question that just popped into your head. The big thing with dealing with the dead is it's about relationship. The philosophy of Get Haunted is to be applied to the dead as well. It is about community and relationship. If you have an experience with the spirit, acknowledging, first of all, them, that they are there, and acknowledging what it is that they had said out loud, not only helps you develop your mediumistic ability, but it allows them to understand where they are in falling in sync on your frequency. What's that device? Is it a REM pod where it runs through all the different radio frequencies?
No, it's SB 7 or 11. It's a spirit box kind of thing.
Okay. They do the same thing. They run all and see which lands on you.
Uh-oh.
What they say out loud. Once you say it out loud, they know they've nailed that frequency. They now have a channel and they can communicate.
Yeah.
It's like he's running through the channels right now.
Yeah, it's freaking me out. Look at that.
Stacey, wait. Something's happening.
Oh, look at that. Doesn't even look like him.
What's going on?
Uh-oh. I don't know. Will you tell us?
Oh,
do you feel funny?
No.
Yeah,
I have now starting to feel a little funny because you're both looking at me all weird.
Oh, you got you're choppy and frozen, and your face is pixelated and distorted, and it's odd looking.
You're moving just fine. I see you guys perfect.
Yeah, well, we don't see you.
Well, you were, and it was like you were shifting through channels there.
Yeah, your voice was super tough.
It doesn't want you to.
Yeah, I don't have anything on yet. I mean, for a split second, Rob froze, but Sarah's fine.
Sarah's fine. Stop, Rob. Okay, wait. I want to throw this in the mix real quick. So when people talk about manifestation, and I've heard this, people say, "Oh, if you want a parking spot, just say you're going to find a parking spot, and you're going to find it." So I have applied this when I go into town, right? Because you have to park on the street, and it's a bitch to find a spot. So I've done it where I'm like, there is a spot there. So is that remote viewing? Is that manifestation? Is it just knowing? I mean, how does that? Okay.
It's manifestation. In cultures, they would invoke the name of it in order to do the same damn thing.
Stacey, you are a shot.
You might go out and come back in. Maybe.
Go out and come back in. Then I can address Julianne here. No, we were not hacked. Julie, and that is us. We're for real. So yes, reply if you want your shirt. And thank you for your comment. It was much needed. It was nice to see that comment. So
thank you for common sense. Thank you for critical thinking.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a person that understands that sometimes clicking and reading, you got to find some information yourself, even though the information is right there. It can't all be the first thing you read. So we appreciate that so much. Rob was like, I want to give her a free t-shirt. And I'm like, do it. He's like, I am.
See, but this is sad to me that in today's world, right? And Julianne, I'm not picking on you.
No.
But one simple act of kindness can be interpreted as possibly being hacked, and it sucks. It sucks, and it's part of the problem with a lot of these stupid comments that we get to see. And for everybody on the side, Julianne just kind of brought some common sense and levity to a kind of a silly comment on one of our one of our events, and for that, we wanted to reward her with a shirt.
Yeah. We love you, Julianne. Thank you.
It's going out. Ian, your shit's coming probably middle of next week. And I got something special for you in the package, dude. Don't you worry.
Okay, weirdos. I think we should move on.
Do you meditate to enhance your abilities? You can. Not really necessary. What's necessary is to have a cleansed third eye or a cleansed aura to allow that kind of frequency to vibrate correctly. If not, it's like having hunks of mud on your tires, and then you're just doing this as you go down the road. You want to clean that shit off before you
But meditation is one way to do that, I would think, to decalcify your third eye and to sort of get your chakras aligned properly. And so your aura can be what your aura is. Does the Book of Mediums go over things? Because it really, what I'm hearing from you, I feel like every time we do talk about this stuff, it is really practice makes perfect. Right? Like you need to continue to use that muscle, keep going to that gym, whatever it is for you, to flex that muscle of connecting with the other side and trusting your abilities.
It's a snowball effect. The more you use it, the better you become. And once your third eye is open, it's going to be like drinking out of a fire hose. It's just going to be gushing at you, and you're not going to really know what to do.
So, all right, just let's stop.
Wednesday. Going to the money shot.
Stacey, this is not Wednesday live.
Not Wednesday, bro. Stop.
This is Thursday night.
What am I gonna say? I don't remember. Just move on.
We're gonna move on.
Wait.
What? Okay.
So now I remember. So, Stacey, on your courses, so if somebody was trying to enhance their mediumship capabilities or even get started, what courses of yours would you suggest?
I have a course called The Talking Dead, which was more of a pun to the TV show Walking Dead,
right?
But you can get that. It's for beginners. You can do the remote viewing, which I highly suggest, because I refer to the remote viewing course quite a bit while in the mediumship or the Talking Dead course, basics of spirit communication. Just like we just did here, it's two sides of the same coin,
right?
One is the muscle, and then the other is being able to recognize and coordinate what is actually happening without thinking. You don't need thinking. Is the enemy of your abilities. It is perception. What do you perceive? What do you perceive? What do you smell? What do you hear? These are the things you need to pay attention to, not, big lofty concepts like, imagining a murder scene,
right?
Imagining the death of all of these different, that will happen on its own. You don't have to force that. All you have to do is recognize what it is that you perceive. What do you smell? It may be tobacco in a place that's non-smoking. It may be perfume of, old-timey perfume when all around you is just dudes. You need to pay attention to what it is that you're perceiving and voice that. Say it out loud, because that confirmation is what the spirits are looking for. So they know they've just landed on the right frequency to communicate.
So for those on the side that are watching that don't know, you can find Stacey on Udemy. It's Udemy. He's got massively great reviews. I believe you have about 16 courses or so, right?
Yeah, 16 courses. I had more, but I got some banned.
Some got banned. How to be funny on shows got banned. Talking coconut shells, the whole 9. It's all there. Even some prepper, weirdo prepper stuff for all you.
The divination system too is a verification for you. The coconuts are a form in which the dead can actually talk to you. They can give you yes or no answers through dropping the coconut. And if you have a question, you can actually ask it direct and get the answer yes or no.
I've seen this happen in act. I've seen this in real life. I've seen the coconuts being tossed. Sarah,
you said it wasn't a Wednesday show.
I know. She's over there just fucking it all up. So udemy.com. Stacey's got a bunch of courses. Go look at his reviews. Don't take our words for it. You can look at his reviews. 6,314 of them. If you don't have anything to do tonight, go read them. But they're all there. Stacey's really, really good. As you see here, this is pretty much what his courses are like. It's actually creepier when you're taking his courses because it's like he's sitting across from you at a desk and and you talk to him. And I didn't know Stacey for shit. He popped in on a show that Sarah and I were on one night, and so that's a whole nother magical story. But then I got to know Stacey. So
that's coming up. The anniversary for that's coming up.
That's right. It's 2/22. It's just, it was odd. The whole thing was odd. And I'm like, this guy that I'd been listening to and watching is all of a sudden now on the other end of my phone. And it's just been no looking back ever since. It's pretty hilarious. But the way he delivers it is done. It's just done well. It's just done incredibly well. It's easy, digestible. He relates some things to modern, like mostly PC stuff, downloads, uploads, USB drives, thumb drives, whatever. I just love his style, and it's why I ended up sticking with him when I was first kind of digging into remote viewing. And then boom, there he is. He just shows up one day.
Well, plus when you take his course, you do feel like it was made just for you. When you are sitting there, you do feel kind of like, this is just Stacey and I. Like, this is him telling me right now in real time what I'm learning. So it is a really great course. And if you have any questions, there are a few on the side that have taken his courses, and I think they would tell you very much the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people, I've been told that I have the perfect voice for, putting people to sleep at night.
You have. You put me to sleep a couple times.
Other people have said you're so freaky. The blue piercing eyes. You just stare right into my soul. Are you looking at me right now? I was like, no, dude.
All right, I'm sorry.
But
no, that wasn't you. I've gotten that from a lot of people.
Okay.
There's Emmy, Miss Emmy, stopping by. I don't know if she's still here. So let's go on to Adam's other question, because I think, Adam, you do use your psychic medium abilities. I believe he has helped us on many live investigations. So yeah, when he sees images that come up in his imagination, it just happens. But at first I have to clear his head. So everybody's got like that ritual, right? Like everybody's got a little bit of a ritual before they start. I don't, and maybe that's my problem. Maybe I'm not regimented enough, because I just kind of go in. It just happens. Like I don't walk in going, this is going to happen. It just, if I'm saying it, I'm knowing it, and I have to say it. You know what I'm saying? So, but it looks like for Adam, he's got his ritual. Does that help aid in mediumship?
Yeah. What helps in mediumship the most is not thinking.
I can do that.
All right, got that shit down.
Just perceiving. What do you feel? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you taste? If you have those things going on, you're just looking at your perception rather than what you are thinking about or what you are are worried it might happen, or, I hope a ghost doesn't, do the boo, that kind of thing. Most people that go to a haunted house, they're literally waiting for something to jump out at them, a jump scare. And if you're thinking about that, you're not perceiving what's going on. Dropping all of that can be hard when you're like in a new environment, especially one that's, preloaded your concept of haunted. That's what you really focus on. But if you just go into it blank slate, what do you perceive? Things will come. That information is there, and acknowledging it is key. Really is key, because that's once you've locked that in with the spirits, they'll keep using that one frequency, and you'll get more and more information. And it helps your development too. You can become familiar with that particular spirit, will feel the same. So if you go to a different location and that same feeling comes about, you're dealing with the same spirit you did over there.
And I want to touch on that, but Dee Dee, I brought your question up because I kind of feel like he's answering that already right now. And I do always find it interesting. And Rob, I feel like we've had this conversation. I'm not a big believer in going to one location and those spirits absolutely they cannot leave. They are stuck. They are imprisoned. But yet they can transcend time and space and talk to us, but they can't leave that location. So I feel I've had those experiences where I've gone to multiple locations, not even purposely going for a haunted reason, but like say being somewhere historical, not for a ghost hunt. But having that where that same vibe, feeling, thoughts pop in your head. And so that's why we talk about this a lot, where it's who we connect. I mean, it is about connections, and I'm not going to always connect with the same thing that Rob connects with or what you connect with, Stacey. So do they, and when we're at these locations, we are doing this. We are here for an investigation. We're looking for ghosts. So why wouldn't something that connected with you before go, hey, she's tuned in right now, so I'm going back over there to talk to her?
Exactly. It's sort of like when you hear a song from Pat Benatar, it's going to be a different memory for you than it is for Rob, hopefully.
Nope, we have the same exact memory for Pat Benatar.
Backseat of a Camaro, both of you. There you go. But that is how spirits actually relate to and move. They're fifth dimensional beings. They don't travel distances like we do. They have a familiar memory or familiar sense of what's going on. Of similar to you do. You listen to Pat Benatar, you zoom right into that one place that you were at when you heard that song, good or bad. That's how they work. They have a memory of a particular location, and boom, they're there. They can go from that familial sense, that whatever frequency that you're humming at. As soon as they feel that, they're there, because they're fifth dimensional beings. Space and time are not the same. They move through it just like we walk through a room. So they just go by what they sense, and then they're at that location. It's really kind of almost like a memory is everything to the portal. They remember what it's like to be at Conjure House back in the 1600s. Boom, they're there. All of these locations that you have different spirits. It's a familial memory that transports them, moves them there. And you syncing up with them is part of that. It's a big part of it, actually. You have so many spirits that will follow you around once they know that you can do this. Once you are aware that you have this ability, you are a rock star on the other side, for real. Very famous.
So, I mean, there's a good chance, right? So for those that don't or have never investigated with me, I have this thing. It's the peanut. They call me the peanut butter guy. It sounds weird too.
Sounds super weird.
It's an EVP I get a lot.
Do they call you actually the peanut butter guy? Is that what they say?
Peanut butter. Shut up. Peanut gallery, quiet. They do call me Peanut Butter King, but it's an EVP I get in a lot of places. I ask them to repeat the words peanut butter, and Sarah's witnessed it. But maybe it is always the same peanut butter love and spirit. Just popping in, like, here's my shot. Here's peanut butter again. I'm gonna give it to you.
Well, it's that frequency. You zone in when you ask that question. That's a particular frequency you put out. They're responding to it because they know you're going to respond to it back. That's what they're trying to sync up with. Is that the what did you call it again? The Estes box thing?
Oh, spirit box.
Spirit box.
This is why I
They're
love
doing the same thing.
About ghost hunting, but he's
Doesn't give a shit.
it's this box trigger.
He doesn't care. He's got the real. He's got the real piece of equipment.
Sticks y'all carry around.
Dowsing sticks. But I'm curious. This is to me, and see this again. I don't know, Stacey. Like I feel like when you say something each show for me that really resonates and makes sense, I believe to. And we just had this conversation, Rob, about admitting to more experiences than I do admit to, right? But I feel like what you just said, don't put your hand up at me, makes a lot of sense. But I think this throws off a lot of theories for people because we go into locations, especially when we go into very specific locations. Rob and I have talked about this a lot. There are people who love the history before they go in. And I did not like history class. I love learning it as I go, and I love being at these locations and learning some. But don't tell me to read a report or a book before I go to a location. For me, that doesn't work. It doesn't fulfill me or make me feel good. That's not a critique on anybody else. That's just me. Yeah. So, but what's interesting is, and you just said it, we sort of pre-fill our heads with what we think we're going to get when we go in there. And that might not be at all what we're connecting with. And we've said this a million times, Rob, we form our relationships in the living world. In the living world, we choose or we are chosen. So why would that not? We are the souls. We are that energy in living form. So why, when they go over and crossover, does that change? This to me resonate. This makes more sense to me that we are connecting with those energies or we're chosen by those energies and we're forming these relationships. And no matter where we go, that is possibly who we're connecting with.
They don't have to be anybody that you know. I mean, it can be random spirits that you just like meeting me a year ago. I'm just some schmuck who suddenly is in your orbit. Mm-hmm. Spirits will do the same thing for a period of time.
So, and to the same point, and I do say this on events. Look, I do believe certain places help foster activity, but I also think we could all go to, I say this to every group that I talk to, is we could probably all go to McDonald's right now and work hard enough and we can get some kind of activity response evidence. Because we become the lighthouses, we become the beacon, we become the conduit. I truly believe everybody is their own portal. I just might be the peanut butter portal.
There are a lot more spirits at Walmart than there are in a cemetery. There's nothing interesting for a spirit in the cemetery, really. What's interesting is where people are at, and that happens to be Walmart. And if you don't think that that's true,
Stacey loves Walmart. Just so everybody knows, I gotta make a Walmart shirt for Stacey.
Oh man, I hate that place.
He does,
but it is interesting. So here's another. I just want to throw this. Now we're kind of going into a different discussion, but I want to throw this out there as well, because when we do sit down and we're at these locations and we're having these moments where we're connecting with something, we often hear people say an evil spirit will pretend to be something else. But who's to say that if you're connecting with an energy and you're calling out to Sally Mae that belongs to this one particular location, that I just made that up. Well, who's to say that you're not getting confirmation from any spirit, just going, I'll be Sally Mae tonight. I just don't care. Like, because I'm connecting here.
Well, you can bar them from doing it. You know, a lot of people don't really understand how powerful your words and your thoughts are. On this plane, we have absolute authority to determine who or what entity is allowed to be in our vicinity. If a liar is present or a troublemaker is present, we can demand that they leave, and they have to leave. Why that is, I don't know. It just is. Spirits themselves do not have carte
Who says
blanche.
that, Stacey? Who actually validates that we have the power over any spirit? I'm going to fight you on this
I've
one.
seen Cody and Satori do it. I mean, in my religious practice, that's just part of it. But outside of that, I've seen Cody and Satori do the same thing. Satori.
I need to see this shit happen with living people.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
Go away. Leave us alone.
But they've had spirits that are causing trouble while they're trying to communicate with other spirits. And they're like, get the fuck out. You are not supposed to be here. You are a troublemaker. Get the fuck out. And you'll hear footsteps, have them walk out the door because they were commanded by Satori. And she's really not that intimidating. And if she can do it, yeah, it's what it is. We have
maybe people are just more respectful on the other side.
Why would they be?
I don't know. I just don't know. I
think of all the assholes that exist today and then magnify that for the number of deaths that have happened since the beginning of humanity. I mean, you're talking about a lot of assholes.
So do you think there is a finite amount of souls, or do you think there's an infinite amount? Like, do you believe in reincarnation?
Well, this is a little bit deeper, but I think there's an infinite amount because each one of us is like a slice of divinity, and divinity has an unlimited amount of partitions.
I'm a chunk. I'm not a chunk. I am divine.
Okay.
All right. I'm just burning through some stars here. Yes. Toasty coconuts.
Toss a few.
Yes, Ian.
Who's typing?
Is it mediumship? This is from Kim. Is it mediumship if a person has been able to feel a spirit or spirits in their surroundings? So is any ability to acknowledge either the feels, your hair standing up? I mean, is that all?
That's all mediumship.
Form? It's all mediumship.
It's sensory mediumship.
Okay.
You know, anything that you can see. Some people, back in the 80s, it was big to call yourself a clairvoyant or clairaudient.
Mm-hmm.
They had all of these different, audience of I can see the future, I can see the past, I can hear, I can see. They have all of these abilities based off of one sense of their perception. When it's all of them, you have all of these senses. You're walking through a haunted location and suddenly you feel, something in the middle of your back it burns. Why does it hurt? Ow. Well, you may be sensing the spirit is trying to tell you he got stabbed in the back. And that's what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea that's what the communication is. You just suddenly feel what he felt. That's what he's trying to get across.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the gut, shot in the gut. You suddenly feel hurt real bad. It feels almost like you just finished eating Taco Bell. Your gut hurts really bad. These are sensories that you need to pay attention to in the moment and acknowledge it, because that's actually part of the spirit communication. They know they've landed on that frequency for you.
So Dehut's hitting on, your infinite souls. Does that exclude reincarnation for you?
No, I think reincarnation's real too.
So there you go, Dehut.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my memories of reincarnation, I've gone through this regressive hypnosis stuff, and I can't get past the moment of death in all of these past lives. I would love to know what these skills are. I wanted practical application. Was I a pianist in one and I know how to play the piano? You know, was I an artist? Was I a linguist? You know, what
Were you
what
cunning?
skills did I have?
Were you a cunning linguist?
No.
Checking. Sorry, ladies.
Sarah, the microphone is not big enough.
I was just asking because you have a way with words.
No, I actually have a friend who goes by cunning linguist.
Yeah, I bet you do. All right, let's keep it clean, ladies.
Keep it clean. God, guys, grow up.
Stacey, do you think that our consciousness undergoes no changes in the move from the physical to the ethereal?
What, when you die?
Oh, I disagree with Stacey on this one so hard.
You do. We've had this talk too.
I'm missing what the question actually was. When you die,
Well, and come back when you can form a fucking.
Yeah, so if you're a dick in life, you believe you're a dick on the other side. I've heard you say, yeah, and I totally disagree with you. I think that this is what makes us a dick. Our physical form here on earth makes us a dick.
Well, it really all depends on where you land. If you are a hard-nosed kind of an asshole, you're very logical and to the point, and there's a very proper way of doing things, almost OCD kind of living. Yeah, I would agree with you. That kind of a thing is, you lose a lot of the mental malfunctions when you die, because that's a chemical response in the brain. Spiritually, you become more enlightened and say, oh yeah, that was kind of an asshole thing to do. You look back and actually have that. But some people are really evil in their core. When they cross over, they enter on a level, on a plane on the other side that does not allow them to reflect correctly. And they stay the same way moving forward. John Wayne Gacy, for instance, or Charles Manson crossing over, they suddenly don't become angelic. They suddenly don't become good people who reflected back and say, yeah, I was kind of a dick.
So OCD can be a chemical thing, but you don't think some evilness in human beings is not some sort of what's the word? I have a word loss. Sort of oh my God, what's the word? Like a deformity of something, or a misfire, or a chemical something. Like, you don't think those things could also fall under the same as OCD?
It could, sociopaths and psychopaths, some of it is a chemical malfunction. Some, it is not chemical. It is really who they are. The narcissist, that's not a chemical thing. That is who you are. Somebody who will, Son of Sam, he was a psychopath through and through, a serial killer and all that, but he was first and foremost a narcissist. His whole inner being was evil, and he admitted that outright. It wasn't a thing where he was, claiming that he was broken. Jeffrey Dahmer recognized that he was broken. He understood that what he had done was evil, and he didn't understand why he was doing these things. He was just compelled. I would say that would be more of a chemical malfunction, or even spirit possession, if you want to go on that level. There was an obsession that he just relinquished to.
Because, if Sam was still here, like, we could talk about the serial killer aspect, in the sense of a lot of these have, from my favorite podcast ever on the planet, Last Podcast on the Left, they'll talk about serial killer soup. And, it starts with abuse and especially abuse from the mother, not the father. Mostly, some of the bigger serial killers had horrible, horrible abuse from their mother, which is a little bit uncommon. And for the things the moms were doing. Well, for what the mothers were doing. I'm not talking normal abuse. I'm talking like really fucked up abuse.
Yeah. They've done studies. 90% of the men in prison were from single mothers.
Yeah.
They developed their bad behavior because either their mother was too weak or too strong. and they reacted to it badly.
So that's where I would say then once you pass that consciousness, and Julianne says it here, it's a learned behavior. So is that something why can't that be shed once this is gone and you have transcended to something? I'm not saying that there's not evil spirits and we don't know what that evil energy truly consists of. We don't know. We don't know what, and I don't know. And I'm not saying that, because I do believe in reincarnation. So I'm not saying that Charles Manson, goes to the next level each life and becomes suddenly the most angelic person on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't know if I don't know. I feel like we can't disconnect from this life to understand what it is over on the other side.
Well, yeah. And sort of just to throw some more fuel on this, I don't know if anybody here, I've never met an evil baby. Not yet. Well, maybe one. But so when we talk about people being inherently evil, like I would assume that would show up as,
Well, you have to understand that when we look at life and somebody who's an enlightened person, someone who is a spiritual person, or someone who literally has all of the lightness and the good in them, that's also a learned response. Their life has been a series of events that taught them how to be, not only from an internal point of view, but from an external point of view.
right.
How they responded to a situation, good or bad, determined whether or not it was good or bad. You keep following those learned responses, and it actually develops your soul to be that at the end. It's Jordan Peterson was actually talking about this on Joe Rogan the other day, and it blew my mind that he actually is that level of spiritual. But it's that the path that you take yourself down is a path that you will eventually reach, good or bad, learned response. And that is basically the end result. Your soul will be that at the end. So
that explains why.
Core is you've done that to yourself.
I'd like to disagree, Denise. I know a baby that, but again, I do that.
She hangs out with him.
Hang out with this baby all the time. No, I know of a situation, but I definitely think that it is, again, mental illness doesn't go with your consciousness, right? Because this is where we say your brain is not your consciousness.
Correct.
That's it. But I think people get that a little bit munged up, right? So I have seen babies that don't, oh my God, I have so much word loss tonight. What's the other word for connect? Like, they don't, oh my God, I can't think of bond. Thank you. There was no bonding process. And then because of that, from the minute they're born, and yes, I mean minute, they are born, and they don't have those same responses as a normal baby would. And then you watch them grow up and have those same incredibly intelligent, but no emotional connections or bonds can be formed. No empathy, no nothing. So that's the brain, not the consciousness, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So
you can be born from a previous life. Some people, and this is in the Book of Mediums, they talk about this too. Sometimes when you cross over, you go into the spirit realm and you get the reflection of your life, and you get the flash before your eyes, and the whole, through the tunnel and all this other stuff that you typically hear with, near-death experiences. Some people skip right over that and go straight into reincarnation. Mm-hmm. They literally die, and then they pop out some woman's hoo-ha. It's literally that fast. They don't.
Is that a technical term, the hoo-ha?
Well, this is family friendly. So.
Oh, is it? Now it's family friendly. Oh, okay.
All of a sudden, yeah.
They don't get that chance to actually reflect and learn to what it was in their life that made them the asshole. made them the good person. They go directly into the next incarnation. And a lot of times that's seen in children that literally remember their previous lives. You know, they've got several stories of children talking about what they were doing in Vietnam, you know, what their job was. And they go down the list of different people that they knew, you know, and World War II, they were a pilot in World War II or different things. And they just know this from the moment they're able to talk. They're saying these things out loud.
But Stacey, could that be a form of mediumship and not a past life? Could they actually have information coming in from a spirit that for whatever reason connected with their frequency because they're so fresh, there's not a lot of distractions in their life. They don't have all these preconceived notions in their head that have whatever. So could that actually be a form of mediumship?
Well, it could be, you know, a form of possession. Where not Hollywood level possession. There's several kinds of possession, but having a child possessed to basically be the mouthpiece of a spirit, yeah, of course that could be it. But those kinds of things in a possession aren't long lasting. They don't go on for years. The child is still able to for years describe stuff, and then all of a sudden it fades like it was a dream.
Because I have a nephew who there was a brief moment, and it's the perfect ages that they referred to as indigo children. And he had vivid memories of China, and he would talk about his family, and then it just stopped. That it was just, it was over. And that might have been, I should ask. It wasn't a very long, it wasn't like years long. He was young. It like to the point where it was like, he wasn't even like, how would he even know about China? He was describing China. Like the beautiful, you know, green, like the lushness. And so there wasn't really this, it's like he wasn't looking up books. So he was little, like 4 or 5 years old. And he described his family. What?
Did anybody hear that?
What did you hear?
On the side? I heard like a kid laughing. Stacey, was there sound? Anybody laugh at your place?
Well, across the street, there are little kids that are kind of laughing, but I can barely hear it.
Yeah, on the side, please tell me.
That's creeping me out.
You heard that. What's the timestamp? Right around 1:12. I'll come back to this.
I have the same microphone as Sarah. It's got a noise cancellation. You shouldn't be able to hear anything.
That was weird.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, so I'm curious though, like if we're, you know, to me, again, this kind of makes better sense to me about what you're describing with spirits connecting with certain frequencies and coming through. I feel like if past lives, if this was, and I do believe we're reincarnated, but I would feel more people would have past life experiences, that we would have more memories of a past life, not just a kid in the middle of Idaho and then the kid in the middle of Arkansas. That's it. That's who you hear about.
We really don't know what allows these children to have these memories. You can have these memories too through hypnotic regression, going through your life and then before you were born and then before that and all of it. And hypnosis can do that for you. I was never able to get beyond the deaths. I wanted to know about the lives. You know, knowing about how I died, you know, a dozen times means nothing to me, other than know that I pretty much died any way you could. That isn't important. I want to know details of history that I experienced that are part of me. You know, things that you went through before, lessons that you learned in life before, skills you learned in previous lives. You know, these are the things that interest me, because if I, you know, are the culmination of all of these lives, I've got earned equity somewhere that is just sitting and earning me nothing. You know, I want to know these things, but for whatever reason, I can't get past the deaths. Children have been able to experience or at least vocalize those things, those skills, their jobs, their friends, what they did. They understood certain things that as a child, this is what you do, even though that in this life, those things mean nothing to them. You know, to a 4-year-old, what does he know the real meaning of being a bomber pilot in Germany in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what does that really mean to him in this life? Nothing,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But today, I mean, if you had suddenly woke up one morning and you had all of the knowledge, skill, and dexterity of a pilot, just when waking up and having those memories, that would be fantastic. That'd be a superpower unto itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what interested me. You know, was I in Egypt? Do I know hieroglyph? You know, all of these things.
You got a headache now?
Yeah, I'm getting one. It's okay. It's all this here learning.
It's too much information coming in all at
Too
once.
many downloads happening.
Yeah.
No, I mean these are the things that I could, honestly, like, sit with all of y'all for hours around a campfire and talk about these thoughts and theories. Denise, Stacey, everybody on the side.
Julianne, coming in with
I
some
know.
great pieces.
Julianne just coming out of nowhere, nowhere with A, badass comments, and B, badass comments here. No, but these are the discussions that keep me exploring, that keep me intrigued. Some of this stuff we touched on very first time I met Ian, actually. We got kind of deep, but so I guess my question to Stacey is, when did you switch to this route? Was it your entire life, or did you have an epiphany somewhere along the line where you were just like, you know what? Because for me, that's what it was. And I'm curious about you.
Well, right around the time that my balls got lower and my voice got lower, I started having premonitions.
Okay.
And I had no idea what those things were.
So did I, but they weren't about
Yeah. Well, my life was also very different, back then too. But I started having premonitions and I had no idea, and I had no control over them. I would just suddenly have them. And I got a reputation in high school of being spooky. And with the glasses that I had, people started calling me Radar.
It's not funny. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fucking great. Radar.
Because, it was spooky, but I had no control over it whatsoever. And I wanted to learn how to do that. And the dead were very kind in guiding me to my first teacher when I turned 18, literally 2 weeks after. And I've been doing this ever since. So it's
wow.
So without giving away your course, because we're touching on a lot of different things, and I think everybody is getting it. They're putting. This is what I really love about this. Like, everybody is. Sorry, you just changed the names on there. It makes me laugh. And everybody does have a little varying opinion here, and none of us know. We're not forcing anything. Stacey is the priest, and he definitely has his knowledge and his shit down. But what are some just give us your, I don't know, 3 main things to help sort of guide people into, because I want them to take your course. I want them to that's the Talking with the Dead. What is that one called? I apologize.
Yeah, the Talking Dead.
Talking Dead. So what are the 3 things people can go, yeah, I want to try this. Where do I start? Because I think everybody on the side, we all have this moment. We all know, right? We all have these abilities. How do we get past the imposter syndrome? How do we get past that insecurity and move into the next level of mediumship? What are your top 3 things for us to do?
Well, first of all, own it. The imposter syndrome is impossible to get past if you refuse to actually own that you have these things, you have these abilities. Understand that doesn't make you special. That just makes you normal. And calling it mediumship, different things like that, these are terms that we like to box people in. But it's using your senses to the way that they're supposed to be used. Own it. You are a medium. Also, don't think about it. the more you think, the worse it gets. You get the blockages going on, because you have an internal voice, and then you have your external id personality voice, your ego. That's the loudest voice, is your ego. You got to shut that thing down and simply just perceive. Once you get past that, you'll start to hear it, and you vocalize it. You say it out loud. I'm sensing this. I'm feeling this. I'm cold right now. I feel the tinglies on my neck. Voicing these things out loud allows the spirits to actually sync to your frequency and make it much easier, because it's a relationship. You're building a relationship, just like I'm talking to you now. You know, that communication of when I'm saying something, you also go the spirits also need that confirmation.
Right.
Yeah, that was me.
Aww. Can everybody? Look, there he is. Can everybody just acknowledge how funny Dee is right now after Stacey described when it happened for him? She said something really freaking funny, and we all missed it. So there we go. Sorry, that was funny. Yeah. So, okay. So own it. Start by just owning it, people. You all have the ability, so own it.
Yeah. And then stop thinking.
Stop thinking. I can do that.
Perceive. Understand the difference between thinking and perceiving. A lot of people don't. They don't understand the difference. In my remote viewing course, that's what we teach.
Okay.
Is how to perceive.
Yep. That's the hardest part of it, right? But however, the way Stacey breaks it down in the RV course, it makes sense. But there's some prerequisites, right? You're not supposed to have shiny jewelry, music, shouldn't be hungry, shouldn't be upset.
Right.
It's, for me, nearly impossible situations.
Yeah, you're hardwired. You're hardwired to do certain things simply out of the evolution of humanity. Shiny things in your line of sight will always catch your eye, because that's what you're hardwired biologically to do. To either see the water in between the grass, or to see eyes staring past you in the bush. The shiny thing is what your eye needs to catch in order to survive. That's part of the organism. Noises have the same effect. You know, we have certain fears in us that are hardwired into us. Fear of heights and a fear of loud noises. We can't get past that. I mean,
I love loud noises. Hate heights.
Yeah. Well, if anybody's ever seen, Rob in one of these investigations, how he, shits himself when somebody says, "Hi." The loud noise is just naturally, there's no getting around it, So there are prerequisites to sitting down and actually doing a remote viewing session to remove those from interfering and turning your session to junk.
Shut up, Ian.
Do you so you have your relationship with your dead, and you work with them, I think, quite regularly.
Yes.
Do you ever ask for your own messages for yourself? Like, do you sit down, or do you strictly, like, it's not used for you personally?
Oh yeah. For me personally, I get all kinds of stuff, largely because I'm the one that's always bitching and moaning in my own head or out loud. Why is my investments not moving? Why, is my car turning to shit? Different things like that. I'm always doing the why. And my dead are, practically angels now, having to answer all of these stupid questions because I ask them and they are obligated to answer. And if I go for long periods of time, or I'm just in my own head, they'll change the channel. They'll start playing music, not physically play music, but those earworms that you get for different commercials. I'll start getting 70s music
Wait, what's an earworm? Somebody
It's-
explain that to me.
It's you'll start like I do with Christmas jingles.
Oh God, if he's trying to work on something during a meeting, he just starts whistling Christmas music in summertime. It's a
Yeah, those are earworms. When you have to say them out loud because they're just playing in your head over and over again.
All the fucking time. It's terrible.
For
why
me,
Christmas music? Oh, that's interesting.
for me, it's like ABBA. Like the whole Mamma Mia soundtrack.
Oh God.
Oh,
I hate that music.
how do you unfriend someone on Facebook?
That I hate that music, and it gets me out of my own head because I hate that music.
What?
Or-
Ian, don't do that.
So okay, so
7 cars for kids.
I know I
Benatar,
can't.
you
Yeah,
know?
I'd rather have it, but I can't with Mamma Mia. That I can't with ABBA. All of it, I can't. Earworms.
Stop.
Okay.
Hooked on a Feeling. That one comes into my head all the time, and for the longest time, I didn't even know that was the name of the song. I would just hear it. It drove me nuts, and the spirits. Yeah, my spirits do that to me to get me out of my own head. The
Okay.
spirit that I have that is dominant in all of that is associated with my Nganga. He died in 1979.
And he loves ABBA.
Oh, he loves all 70s music. He's like an easy rider. He died on a motorcycle. So he's, that personality, whereas music, trying to get me to buy a Harley, all kinds of stuff. But,
Okay, so earworms are connected to our spirit guides. Am I getting that correct?
for me, you're talking about the spirit, the personality of the spirit, just like you have a personality of you or Rob. They're very similar, but
Oh God.
I smell good. I just need everyone to know I smell good right now.
Is this a dating site? What the hell's going on? What's happening right now?
But sometimes, like when I get a whiff of myself.
All right, do that on your own time.
I think we need verification. Where's Danny?
I do. Who's talking about tinnitus?
Oh God, I love her laughing. This is my favorite. It's my favorite.
Yes.
Tinnitus.
I have
Yeah,
tinnitus.
that's a
I
thing
have
too.
tinnitus, whatever the hell you want to call that.
Yeah, tinnitus. That's a thing too. They'll use that. They'll ping your eardrum and to get your attention because you're not paying attention.
Hi, Gina.
They've been trying to get my attention since 1989 with that. Yeah, it's bad.
Well, yours is not wearing hearing protection during
Well,
fire.
I was not wearing any, and boom, but it does.
Yeah, they'll do that too. Just that ping, like right when you fire a 9mm without any hearing protection, that ping they'll do that to get your attention so you can actually pay attention to what they're trying to tell you.
Okay, so then the high frequencies that we hear all of a sudden where my hearing goes away, but then I hear and people have used the term that's a download, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could that also be, is it a download or could it be something? Now I need to pay attention when that happens. I don't know if I'm in the middle of being crazy inside my head or what.
No, you're not being crazy inside your head. The dead, depending on the personality that you're dealing with, will use one or several different ways and try to get your attention because you are paying attention is the key to syncing up that frequency. If you're off in your own world and own thing and they have something really important they want to tell you, but you're just not paying attention because you're just tripping the life fantastic, they'll ping you in the ear or start giving you a headache. You'll start getting a tension headache in the back of your head. You'll get that tingly feeling like somebody's running their fingers up your hair. And then all of a sudden the headache will start setting in. That's when they're trying to actually get in that third eye in the back of your head. That's when you need to cleanse. to break that connection.
So I actually had that moment last night as I took a shower, and I have never had the sensation, and right as I was washing my hair or whatever, never had that sensation before, but something all around my crown.
Yeah, that's
and it would not go away. I actually stopped and went, is somebody doing Reiki with me right now? Because it was so intense. It almost freaked me out a little bit.
There was probably a spirit in there watching you take a shower.
Well, okay. I don't know about that. It was a moment, right? Like there was, it was, I don't know if it was I needed to have whatever was happening, but it was that noticeable, and I'd never had that sensation before.
Yeah, they're trying to get to the third eye in the back of your head, because that's where your communication center is at.
Okay.
You know, the visual is up here, the communication is back here.
Okay.
It actually, so is the visual, if you really want to think about it. The part you see with your brain, your eyes, the nerves go all the way to the back of the brain, but your hearing is also back there. So that's where they're trying to, you know, establish a line of communication in the back. And if you get that in the crown and in the back there, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to sync up.
I love that song, Ian.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite songs back in the 80s. All right. Well, I don't know, guys on the side, what do you think? I mean, you can't just talk to Stacey for 15 minutes.
No, you cannot. You cannot.
Yeah, I'm kind of long-winded.
No, it's not that. The thing is, these are the conversations Rob and I get into where then you're like, well, wait a minute, what about this thought? And I guess what I love about having these conversations, and Rob and I have talked about this outside of just us, is to see everybody's thoughts and theories on it, adding your knowledge base, Stacey. I mean, look, it would be pretty sad to think that we've already figured out as investigators what's left to investigate then. Like, you know, I think that is what's so beautiful about these opportunities is I feel like this conversation tonight for me, I feel like it's actually offered me different line of questioning while I'm connecting at a location with EVPs. I want to know different things now. I don't want to know how they died. I want to understand what they understand being where they are. So the questions for me will definitely change.
Well, in my opinion, and again, I've never actually been on an investigation that does just the haunted house thing. My expertise is different, but going to a location to talk to spirits and get confirmation evidence, if you're gathering evidence, you would want to get as much data as you possibly could. And you're the biggest source of data that you can actually tap into. The, you know, making sense of your senses concept. You are.
What's happening?
I don't know what's happening.
I just heard some. What? Don't say turn around.
I said you're looking around.
Oh, well, because I just heard something weird, and the light.
Turn around every now. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
No,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
that's the cross I have to bear. But being able to vocalize what you're experiencing while you're experiencing it can add to a lot of confirmation of whatever EVPs you might get. Because if that's what the Estes stuff was so intriguing to me when you guys started doing that, because I hadn't seen that before. And you're actually vocalizing data as it's being presented to you, blind, you know, in your eyes and in your ears, while at the same time you're getting EVPs that confirm a lot of the same stuff, you know, a different part of the building. So being able to tap into that without an Estes, just walking through, this is what I see, this is what I feel, this is what I hear. You know, that's a very powerful tool on top of EVPs, on top of your REM pods and all of that.
And you say the very thing that Danny always says before an investigation when we're working together, which is if you see something, feel something, hear something, say it, because you don't know. And we did just that at Heart Stuff Hall. If Denise, if you're still here, she was talking about the children. See, like I'm getting it right now. It feels like somebody is taking their hand and literally doing the cracked egg thing on my head. But just on my right side. This is freaking me out a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's strong. It's not light. It's like it's happening. But she was talking about the children in the attic, and she was saying, I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'll bring you candy. Let us know what kind of candy. And for whatever reason, I said Whoppers. And the guest next to me was like, I was just going to say malt balls. And Denise was like, there you go. Like, and that's why it is important. I think we feel we're so self-conscious to say things because we might feel like we're making it up or it sounds dumb. But the reality is like Danny says, you might be validating something for someone else. And as you have stated at the beginning of this, if it keeps coming to you, if that information is filing in, then you're probably getting information from the other side.
Exactly. That is exactly it.
Duh.
Yeah. The only thing stupid that you can say is nothing.
Right.
You know, that regardless of how stupid you may feel, that you need to get rid of that. That's your ego talking. You just perceive and record, or perceive and vocalize. That's really what it's in. You're not just, learning yourself on becoming a medium, a better medium, but you're also developing that relationship with the dead. They now know, boom, they hit the jackpot on this one. So they're going to keep pinging that same frequency to give you more and more data. But they don't know that until you say it out loud.
So, Stacey, do you think, are they okay with us journaling? Do we have to say it out loud if they saw that we were writing this stuff down? Like, say I'm sitting here doing something and I'm like, these are the things that are coming to me, and I write them down. Do you think they're good with that as well?
If it's on paper.
Okay.
One of the interesting things about Cody and Satori is they verified a lot of the stuff that the dead had been saying for decades to me and in different seances. If you're doing it on a computer, you're journaling on a computer, they can't see that. Okay. All they see is white light. They can't see the words. They can't see the graphics or the pictures. The things that we see in color, they can't see. All they see is the energy, the light.
Okay.
If it's on paper, they can see that.
Okay.
So if you do it on a computer, print it out.
Print it out. Print it out, folks. Show them that you're paying attention. I'm just curious with the automatic writing, and something that I'll be bringing to Cashtown on February 24th. Everybody on the side, what do you think? Tell us your thoughts before we say goodnight to Stacey, because there's a lot here to digest. There's a lot here, I think, to sort of hone in to what it is we are able to do, learning our relationships with spirit. Don't be so sure. Don't be stuck on some history to a location. Learn your own relationship. That is what I am hearing tonight. It's understanding the relationship you're making with the other side. They may be following you to that location, and it has nothing to do with the history, and that's okay. And that is something Rob and I have talked since the day we met. Our relationships or things that we have experienced, they're so personal. And, I don't think those personal experiences stop because you go to RCI or Indiana State Sanatorium. Those relationships do probably continue. So think about the relationships you're creating with the other side. You may be taking them with you to other locations. It's good to learn the history, but you might not be interacting with the history the way you think you are. And that's okay. And I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying we should be a little more open to understanding what exactly it is we're doing, and not so much about, this is the location I'm at this weekend, and 2 weekends from now I'm going to be at this location, and they're totally separate. They might not be separate at all.
Yeah. Well, being front loaded in anything you do, I don't like being front loaded. I like being blind going into something as far as an investigation would be, remote viewing wise, or even somebody who says they have a spiritual issue, possession, whatever. They need me to come fix it. I want to know as little as possible, going in. simply because I want to be able to determine whether this is a mental illness or whether it's an actual spiritual thing. And you know that when you get there.
Right.
You can feel it immediately, whether it's a spiritual thing or whether it's a mental illness. If you get front loaded, it will bias you to whatever it is that you were told.
No, you're going to fit information into a story.
Right.
Pre-existing.
Right. And, you have the best detector that there is. You have a quantum computer between your ears that can detect things on a quantum energy wavelength. So trust in that, trust in yourself that you will actually be able to determine with the information that you get what is actually happening. You can verify it after the fact, but don't try and verify it before you walk there. It's your confidence level will not increase. And if anything else, you will develop an even worse ego.
So put down your pens, folks. Put down those pens for 3 seconds and start back up and listen to the actual data coming through. You might be surprised. Ian, your last question, and we'll after this let everybody go. But are possessions actual control from the other side, or is it someone just overwhelmed by the data being pushed from the other side? This is a really good theory on possessions, and we know that many people who are possessed, there's a lot also on this side of the world that has played a big part of having that. And I think overwhelmed is a really good word here. You can be overwhelmed by religion too and be possessed. Yeah.
Possession, the bad kind of possession that a lot of people refer to is done in phases. It's a fatigue. You start losing sleep. You start not being able to concentrate. You start to think things that you normally wouldn't think, that are maybe cruel and disgusting, and you're in the moment you start thinking that it's funny or entertaining. Let's start sticking sharp pointy things into the kitty cat because it just seems funny when it jumps. That kind of thing. That is not normal, but in a progression of possession, because you have obsession first before you have possession. And obsession is often the most dangerous, because whatever it is the spirit is obsessed with, you become obsessed with. And you can totally lose track of your whole life doing that kind of a thing. You can't sleep, you can't eat, you can't do anything until this itch is scratched in this obsession. And after that comes possession. So it's and that's the bad kind. There's, believe it or not, a good kind of possession too, with trance mediums, where they actually relinquish control, absolute control in a trance to a spirit that is wise, intelligent, and bordering on angelic, that is trying to help not only the individual medium, but other people in a seance, trying to educate or trying to help. Several mediums, that was their whole thing. Sleeping medium guy again, Edgar Cayce, he was that way. He was illiterate. He had an 8th grade education, yet he was giving sophisticated recipes and prescriptions to people who he never met, who were just wrote him a letter asking about this particular, illness that they had. And he was prescribing medicine to them, home remedies, but they were medicines that eventually became pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And he did that, very sophisticated medical diagnoses in his sleep with an 8th grade education. That kind of an intelligent spirit is a possession, but it's not the kind that we think of in Hollywood with the spitting in the pea soup.
And when you talk about hallucinations, the unfortunate part is there's where the fine line between mental health issues and possible mediumship or possession. This is where I'm sure there have been people locked up and it had nothing to do with mental health issues at all. I mean, I'm sure that is some of it, but how do you make those determinations? That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, that's usually, I'm noticing a pattern of empathy. There's some people who are so empathetic that they think all of the things that they're feeling are their own, their own feelings, when in fact they're feeling the world, everybody who's around them in their orbit. They're taking on those emotions and those feelings, and it's driving them nuts. Empaths, if they don't know that they're actually empaths, will eventually be screaming at buildings, "Why are you wearing that color?" You know, because they just lose their marbles of all of the overwhelming emotions that they're constantly having to deal with. The first way to avoid that is to recognize, own it, that you're an empath, and not everything you feel is you. That simple thing, understanding not everything you own, not everything you feel is you. And you can actually mitigate your own craziness, your own path towards the nut house, because that's not you. But eventually your brain will try to adapt and protect you from that, making you crazy. So it's being able to accept certain things right off is key. And a lot of people don't, because our society isn't built like that.
Right. There's a lot to take in tonight, folks. Yeah. Thank you, Stacey. I hope you guys on the side learned something new. I learned actually a lot of new things. I think there were things that really resonated for me tonight. Feel like I'm on a good path to continue down asking several. I'm not done asking questions. I think there's a whole lot of other questions now to sort of follow up with the living and the dead. But I definitely think working on owning it, working on not thinking too hard, which that does resonate with me, because I think it's when I always say that if I just say it, I can't tell you why, it just comes out. So just take it for what it's worth. If I think about it before I say it, I always think that's bullshit.
Yeah, well, that's good. Keep doing that. You know, I mean, some people should not do that. I mean, there are politicians that really should think a little bit before they speak.
Yeah.
But when we're talking on a spiritual level, you know, whatever comes to you, just boom, say it, because that's verification.
Yeah. We can all talk to Stacey for days. We should have like a telethon with Stacey. We'll just go for 48 hours and just we'll just keep talking, but don't make money on it, because it shouldn't be a business.
You'll get burned on it. You really
money is not okay.
But yeah, with that, guys on the side, thank you so much. Everybody was on there talking. I hope we got to your questions. If we did not, there's a lot. Sometimes this show's hard to stick with. It's hard to not listen to you, Stacey, and look at everybody's questions sometimes. So I know we might have missed some, and we apologize for that. But also learning right alongside you guys, and it's fascinating. So we hope we hit on some big questions for you. But you can always interact with Stacey right on Facebook. Go on the Get Haunted Network, tag Stacey Tallitsch. Ask your questions. Have something to say. I'm telling you, he'll interact. You go on there once in a while, Stacey.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not on there all the time, but
I'll see different things, because I know Rob's got a new wrap on his hood, so I'll go and check that out.
Oh, my car, yeah, it's all official.
Yeah, and we don't have Stacey under contract.
What's behind you? Is that a dog?
Well, behind me, yeah. That's my blind deaf weenie dog.
Oh, okay.
He's the one that barks because he wants to be spooned.
Yeah, well, who doesn't?
Remember, folks, men and women, Rob smells good.
Oh,
Again, Danny, we need verification.
I smell it. It's called bourbon and leather.
Bourbon and what?
Leather.
Oh.
Do you guys want me to just drop off the show and you guys could talk for a while, or what's going on right now? I don't really know. I know, right, Dee Dee? Like, there's so much stuff in here to learn, and I just love it. But it definitely makes me want to get back. I've got to finish my course on Talking Dead.
What? Dee Dee? Avon.
Yeah, it's an Avon. The Avon lady just came by, and Rob's like, "Give me some of that bourbon and leather."
No, Dee Dee.
No. What is it? Your Mando.
Mando. Oh,
Look
gee.
at talk about the 80s
Yeah.
coming back.
Wait, every time you spray the Drakkar, ABBA comes on. Oh,
That was a gift. I did not
why
buy
is it
that
there?
myself.
Why do you have it with you?
You
Why
know
do
how
I
you
have it
spray
with me?
you know how you spray your poltergeist spray all the time? Stacey
Yeah.
sprays his Drakkar. That's how he calls his spirits.
Yeah, no, I do that when I have to go out in public. Spray it and then walk through the mist.
Oh, look at that. Is that how you spray your stuff? Do you spray it, Rob, and then walk through it, or you just spray it directly onto
I
yourself?
just did. I mean, it depends, honestly.
Okay. Aqua Velva.
Oh God.
Listen, you sprayed your car, you get like 100,000 junior high girls. That was like for me, that was junior high. All the guys wore that.
No, it's a generational thing. It's all Gen Xers. Even if you got it when you were junior high, the guy walks by with your car, you'd be like, oh my God. And suddenly you're back in junior high, chasing after that.
D Hoot likes Fahrenheit. Everybody's like adding their what smells do you like? Rob sweats into spray bottles for other men to use. I'm a little freaked out right now. I don't what's happening? I don't even understand.
Sure. I'm not quite sure.
Ian, would you like to take my spot and you, Rob, and Stacey can just do the show together? And
oh, please, you already know the answer.
He'll be all over it. He'd be all over it.
Isn't that like a Chuck Norris thing where he sweats into bottles so other men can use it?
I don't know, but it sounds vile.
Yeah, that's right. Halston. I remember that. Oh, God, yeah. That's the cowboy cologne.
Yeah. Which smells like leather.
Yeah. Cool water. Do we remember cool water?
I don't.
Mm-hmm.
You don't?
No.
Yeah, he'd moderate. All right, folks. With that.
So it's a brute. I remember brute.
Julianne, I don't buy your picture. I think you're too young to know what brute is.
I know.
That's all I'm going to say. No way.
How about?
No way. English leather. Love that.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Red door.
Red door. No.
Yeah.
This is why I love the community. The Get Haunted community is one of the best communities I've ever freaking landed on. Like, they're amazing. They're amazing. So, what's that?
Old Spice.
Old Spice.
Yeah,
Listen, I love Old Spice.
Come on.
I use the body wash.
Actually,
I love that smell.
Yeah, what? I mean, I have it too. The red bottle.
Yeah, but there's all different flavors, right? Swagger. There's
flavors. Let's not call them flavors, but yes, there's swagger. There's
Yeah, they have all different.
You know your shit.
I do. But with that, as always, I'm just going to say it. We see you. We appreciate you. We do love you. And thank you for learning right alongside us with the fabulous Professor T, Stacey Tallitsch, udemy.com. We highly suggest you go right over there. Check out a few of his courses. You're going to want to take one. And if anybody is doing Talking Dead, let's talk about it because I'd like to go over that course. You can talk with Stacey too. He's super responsive. So, yeah, with that, we're going to let Stacey get some rest. We're going to let Rob go do, I don't know what he's going to do.
I'm going to go sweat into a few bottles.
And I'm going to do what I always do, and that is go eat. So, so with that, you guys have a fantastic rest of your Thursday night. Have an amazing Friday and a fantastic weekend. You guys are the best. Go be good. Be the good in the community, and we will check you guys out. Saturday, tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Banter with Richie B. Guess who's on?
Two legends, according to Richie, which, come on, dude. Don't ever do that again.
Did you just say Saturday, tomorrow?
Yes. Wait. Saturday is not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday.
Saturday is Saturday. Tomorrow's not Saturday. Tomorrow's Friday.
Tomorrow is not Saturday.
Or Saturday.
But Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. I also love. Not only did he call us legends, he also called us pioneers in podcasting, which is crazy. That doesn't even make sense.
Some of this is pioneering. Sweating in bottles. No, it's going to be an interesting show. So definitely check it out. If you don't know the whole Get Haunted story, it'll kind of show up there and probably in weird ways. But yeah, we're gonna get deep, probably be some tears.
Yeah, we
some
are.
sweat.
I know I can't. Gina, I'm not thinking. Stacey told me to stop thinking, so I'm just going to stop doing it now.
Yeah.
So
let's stop streaming before we get in trouble.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to let you guys go and we will see you hopefully tomorrow night. No, Saturday night, 6 p.m. Stop. I'm done. I got to eat. Okay. Bye.
Peace.